Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Pitching It with Ben. In this episode, I am joined by 2022 LPGA Tour Rookie, Allisen Corpuz. Allisen, it was a wonderful conversation with Allisen. She goes into detail about her time growing up in Hawaii, becoming the youngest competitor ever in the history of USGA Championships when she competed in the Women's Amateur Public Links at the age of 10 years and 3 months. 10 years and 3 months. It's incredible. And Allisen also goes into detail about her time at USC, where she played for 5 years. And she goes into what she's looking forward to this season on the LPGA Tour as a 2022 LPGA rookie. I want to thank you all for listening and enjoy this episode with Allisen. I am back with another episode of Pitching It with Ben, and I am so excited to be joined today by a USC graduate, two-time All-American, and a 2022 LPGA Tour rookie, Allisen Corpuz. Allisen.
Hi, Ben.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going well.
Good. So I guess first of all, we're recording this on January 19th. The off season is very quickly coming to an end. What have you been up to recently?
Just practicing and preparing. I'll be playing the Monday qualifiers for Gainbridge and Drive On. So, figuring out, all the travel plans and travel arrangements, and just taking some time off.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a few questions I was going to ask a little bit later, but since you brought it up, we're going to hit those right now. Have you been working on anything specific heading into these first couple events?
Yeah, I went home for a bit after Q-Series. I went back to Hawaii, and then I came back to LA a little over a week ago, and I went to go see my swing coach. So just tightening up a little bit of everything, like, working on a few swing keys. My pitching's never been great, so I've been working on that. And then short game, chipping and putting.
Yeah. And that's the other question I had too. So Hawaii is still like home for you?
So I've been in LA for the past few years because of school. And right now, I think with practice and with travel wise to tournaments, it's just easier for me to be based in LA. So that was actually my first time back since right before COVID hit.
Wow.
So my parents are still living there, but I'm in
LA. Okay. So I want to start from the very beginning, actually go back in time to Hawaii, and you grew up there. When did you first start playing golf?
Yeah, I started when I was like 4 years old. My dad's a big fan, and we actually live, I don't know if you got out to the Kapolei event last year, but we live on the left side of the 7th hole there.
Okay.
And yeah, my mom would go hiking on the weekends, and my dad would take me and my brother to the range. So that's how we got into it.
She's 4 years old. Like, I love the diversity of when professional golfers got their start, because there's some that definitely begin at like your age, but then there's some that's like, I talked to Davey Weber. I don't know if you know who she is, but she's like,
yep,
started at age 12, which is kind of late compared to a lot of people that end up playing professionally. So nonetheless, though, it's still super impressive. What are some of your earliest memories playing golf during that time?
I mean, it was, so my brother's older than me. He's 2 years older than me. So I know when I first got into it, it was like, can I beat him? And then when I turned, I think 7 or 8, I started playing in like local junior events. And that was really fun. I don't know if you've met Mario Galdiano, but she played at UCLA. But yeah, we grew up playing together since we were like 7. And that was awesome. Hawaii golf was just, there were a lot of really good junior golfers when I was growing up.
Yeah. So who are some of your biggest influences or influence during that time, those early years?
Definitely my dad, just getting me into the game. So there were a lot of people my year that ended up playing college golf. So Mariel Galdiano, she played at UCLA. Aiko Leong, she started at BYU and ended up transferring to USC. So we were teammates for 2.5 years. And then Zoe Akagi Buston, she started at New Mexico and transferred to the University of Hawaii. And then Mari Nishira, she played at Oregon State. They were all the class of 2016. So this is a pretty strong class.
So these are people that you grew up playing with and also kind of helped push you, inspire you to in your game during those early time? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm laughing because it's so mind-blowing to me. But at age 10 years, 3 months, you set a record that I believe is still standing, but the youngest competitor ever at a USGA Championship when you played the women's amateur public links, which it's hard to fathom. And amazingly, there's 2 other 10-year-olds, I think Lucy Lee and Michelle Wee West now, that played as 10-year-olds. So those months do matter. But what are some of your memories from that time?
I mean, so I actually got in as an alternate. So Fido Kino qualified, and then at the time when you qualified for the US Open, then she qualified for the US Open, and then it went to me. So I was pretty lucky to get in. I just remember just being so amazed. Your first USGA championship, like the course is so perfect. We played at Erin Hills, and I hit the ball nowhere. So the course was super long for me. And it was just the toughest course I'd ever played up to that point. And I just remember being really intimidated, but also championship was.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine, like, what an introduction, first of all, to like USGA Championship at Erin Hills. But as a 10-year-old, I guess first of all, to qualify, even as an alternate, I appreciate the like humbleness there, but nonetheless, like you still have to be playing amazing golf, but for a 10-year-old to be playing at that level, it just is so amazing to me. Talking about Hawaii a little bit, first of all, because I know that things can be different for people who visit somewhere versus someone who lives there. So like, what was golf like? What's it like playing golf there as a resident? And also like, what's it like living there in Hawaii versus, like other people might not have that same perspective they might not have.
Yeah. I think California is actually really similar to Hawaii. I don't think I appreciated living in Hawaii until, I moved away and had some time away from home. I just remember my freshman year of college, I was never homesick. And then we traveled to Chicago for a tournament.
Oh.
And it's cold. And I think right outside of the airport, there's a lake. And it just reminded me of the beach. And then suddenly I was just like hit with homesickness. But it's always prettier when I go back, I think, just because you do kind of get used to it, just living there every day. But it's so pretty. I don't think I appreciated that enough growing up. Every time I go home, I'm just like, wow, I'm just so lucky to be from here.
Yeah, like I know that I've talked to people that live down in Florida. So me living in the Midwest, living in Indiana, like Florida is the number one spring break destination. And every spring break we get flooded on the social media timelines, like never coming back and like like all these things. And then I talk to people that live in Florida, and they're like, I got to get out sometime. Like summers can become brutal, like with the humidity and the heat. And it's like, it's not the same as just visiting somewhere. But Hawaii seems to be, so like everyone talks so highly about Hawaii though. Like even, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have a rainy season, like instead of winter.
Right.
But even that, like you can't complain about it for sure.
Yeah. So you have a very successful young amateur career. Your amateur career actually just came to an end, but like those early years, you had a very successful amateur career going through high school golf. When did you know you wanted to play at the next level, and what was the recruiting process like you to play for college golf?
For college golf, so there were a couple of older girls that I saw, go through college. I think it was Mari's son. She ended up third. And we would just practicing at the same course at the time. So I would see her, and I just remember seeing her Stanford bag and seeing all her gear, and I just thought it was so cool. And this was when I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
That someday, but didn't really know where to go. And then like as I got a little older, around freshman year, a couple of the girls that I had played with also went to college, and I don't know, everyone just seemed like they had a lot of fun with it. And then my dad's a USC grad, and so is my brother. Yeah, so I actually verbally committed to USC before he got in. But but my dad was saying, like how much he loved USC, and then when I visited at the time, Coach Gaston was the head coach, and she's just so sweet. And yeah, I visited the campus and really looked at it as a place that I could spend 4 years at. So,
what age was that?
I committed right before my sophomore year started, so 15.
Another like what moment? Like,
yeah.
Obviously, like, and with the history of USC, this is not just another program. This is a program that historically has been perennially one of the best teams in the country. So obviously, the game was there early to be not only like accepted, but to be accepted and recruited at age of 15. Wow. That's so cool. So you end up spending 5 years at USC. Well, first of all, the 5th year, I'm curious about that. Is that because of like the COVID year that came into play, or is that because you wanted to complete another degree, or what was that? Went to that decision?
Yeah, a little bit of both. With Q-School canceled, it just kind of made sense for me to go back. And then, since we had got cut off mid-season, they gave us an extra year to come back, and I ended up using that to get my master's. But I had already started the degree just because, so I was actually on track to graduate in 3.5 years. So even before COVID hit, I was like, okay, like I need to do something for this last semester, to kind of like have classes to take and be eligible. And originally I had it planned so that I would only have like one class online for the fall.
Yeah.
And then ended up taking an extra certificate to then extend for the 5th year.
Wow. So when you think back about this chapter in your life, which by the way, is the 2-time All-American correct? 2 times?
I'm not sure either because I've seen 3, and I think that's because they count that COVID season. So I think if we're talking of full seasons, it's 2, but I'm not 100% sure.
That's what I was doing.
I've seen both.
Okay. I don't want to first of all, I don't want to undercut you. Like, you deserve all the credit but at the same time, I was like, I did a fairly deep dive. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out the years because it was getting kind of confusing. But nonetheless, All-American, 3 wins. When you think back on this chapter of your life, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I guess just a lot of growth. Like I look back at where I was entering college, and I've definitely learned a lot, both on and off the course. And just, like 5 years to just grow as a person. For sure.
Yeah. When did you know you wanted to pursue professional golf? Because like a lot of players, but you come at the caliber that you're one of the top ranked amateurs in the world, coming off successful seasons there at USC. Not everyone necessarily stays the full 4 years. And I know several do, but not everyone does. Like, was the goal always to get your degree and see what happens? Or what was that process like for you?
Yeah, I always wanted to do 4 years. So like what we had talked about just earlier. I think that was kind of like my first dream when I first started playing golf was like, I want to have that team experience. I want to go to college. So I always wanted to finish 4 years. As far as professional golf, I would also go and watch the LPGA event out in Hawaii. First when it was the Fields Open at Turtle Bay, and then the Latte at Ko'olina. And I actually met Morgan Pressel really young. And she was so sweet to me and my brother. She signed like everything we wanted signed. She took pictures with us. And I just remember thinking it was really cool. But it wasn't really like a career option yet because I think I was like 6 or 7. But but it was definitely just like, well, like she's a professional athlete. Like it must be really cool to, just travel all over the world, play professional golf. And then I got to college and I think, just seeing a lot of your teammates turn pro early, it was kind of eye-opening, especially because USC is a school where a lot of people do turn pro. But I just never felt ready. And I also didn't want to get my degree. And then once I felt ready, COVID hit and Q-School was canceled. But so I definitely wanted to get the degree. And then I think just, having fun with it in college just kind of solidified that I want to at least give it a chance and see how everything goes. And then if not, then I'll just, start working. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I was curious, like a big reason was if you look at your Instagram profile, you have your LinkedIn account profile, link on your Instagram page. And I was like, there's not tons of professional golfers that have their LinkedIn page connected. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily unheard of, but the first one I've seen. So I was like, I wonder if she had like other careers in mind other than golf. But it seems like, did you have anything else in mind, or it was just, I want to give professional golf a shot first, and then we'll see what happens?
So we had a head coach change my junior year, and nothing wrong with my coach. It was just a big change, and like our schedule changed. And I just kind of really struggled my junior year. Just, like classes were hard, like new team dynamic. So for a little while, I was just like, okay, like maybe I should try work, and like maybe this isn't for me. And so the LinkedIn actually is just kind of there. So I took a class and the guy was saying, you want to get to 500 connections, and that's when LinkedIn stops counting. So I put into my bio just because I'd love for people to add me. I'd love to grow my network. And I think I've gotten a decent amount of connections through just having it in my LinkedIn, in my Instagram bio. But so I thought about it briefly. But then I kind of told myself, like, let's just make your senior year really good. And let's just see what happens. And I think my focus has been on golf, and I'm just really excited to see what happens before then, seeing how it goes and then saying, like, let's keep doing it, or let's reevaluate and try something else.
Yeah. So when you look back on your time at USC, how did that prepare you for where you are right now?
Yeah. I think just having a schedule, that's taught me a lot. I'm still trying to figure out making my own schedule, but being able to balance the classes and then the practice. And I think I learned a lot of course management, just being able to really evaluate my game in the right ways and see how other great players are playing the game as well. Definitely. The more good golf you see, I think, the more you can reproduce it yourself.
Yeah. So before we move off the college days, can you take us behind the scenes a little bit and share a fun story or memory that not a lot of people may know from one of your USC teams?
Oh, from one of our USC teams. Let's see. My favorite event was always the Napa event, the Silverado Showdown. And I just remember, so I played that event twice, I think. Yeah, twice. And we would just stay in a house as a team, and, cook breakfast in the morning, just hang out. And I think I always love that week because it's so different from a typical week where, you're in a hotel, you might have a roommate, and then you're kind of just not really with your team the whole week. Like, it really is just you're living with your team for the week. And that was always so much fun for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, I just know, like, in those team environments, especially in the same house, like, be super fun. Like any any pranks or any joking with people, or is it a pretty like everyone's locked in because it's tournament week?
No really mean pranks. Um, have you met Amelia Garvey?
I do know Amelia a little bit.
Okay, yeah. So she's from New Zealand, and I know at one point she was kind of telling everyone like she had a pet sheep. And so we had this like elaborate backstory for her pet sheep back in New Zealand that we would tell new people about. Other than that, I can't think of any huge pranks that come to mind, but that was always a funny one to get people with.
That is a good one. So before we leave your amateur career, I do want to touch on the Augusta National Women's Amateur. So I think you're actually the first person I've talked to that got to play in the event. When you first got the invitation, how did you react?
I was super excited. I mean, this was back in 2019, and the first women's tournament out at Augusta. Just to know, like be a part of history and be one of the first women out there was super exciting.
Did you know that you were going to get the invitation before the invitation arrived? I mean, I know you're one of the top ranked amateurs, so you probably had a good idea, but did you know ahead of time? Or is that like when you got that letter with the invitation, was that the first like, oh, I'm in?
So the invite actually went to Hawaii. So I never saw it in person. But I did know that it was coming. A couple of my teammates had received their invite already. So yeah, I did know that it was coming, and then my parents texted me a picture of it.
Okay.
Like the next day or so, yeah.
I was curious about that. How was the experience as a whole, and what was your favorite part about playing? Well, at Augusta too, playing at Augusta.
I think it was just so. My favorite part was just going out on the course and just really seeing the course. Everyone says like how hilly the course is compared to what it looks like on TV. And, you see putts break like 15 feet. So, the hills must be there, but it's not that visible on TV. So just being able to walk the course, and my caddy pointed out where Bubba hit his shot around the trees on 10. And like you stand there and you just think there's no way you can hit the green from here. So stuff like that, being able to just, know the history behind it and just kind of be able to see like, wow, this is what Tiger was thinking when he hit this tee shot, stuff like that. That was really cool. And just walking on Augusta and, knowing all the history behind it was awesome.
Yeah. Are you someone that like really appreciates and playing these historic golf courses, or do you have bucket list golf courses? Are you someone that does?
I don't really have a bucket list. It's more just like if I get the chance to play them, that's great.
Yeah.
But I definitely do like if it's a course that I know has history, but I don't know it too well, I will go back and check out the history and look up what tournaments are played there and stuff like that. I just think the history behind events is super cool.
Yeah. So for anyone that somehow gets an opportunity to play Augusta, and I don't know how the opportunity arises, but for anyone that does, what's some advice you would give to them?
Ooh, just enjoy it, honestly. I mean, thankfully I did play well, but I don't think I would have been too upset if I didn't.
Yeah, that's it. Just enjoy the moment, right? Golf at the end of the day is a game. And I think that everyone, like I know when I played at some of the nicer courses, it's partially like, especially if you're paying for it, which I don't think you're necessarily paying for it, but when you're paying for a round two, you're like, I have to play well. And it gets hard to enjoy it sometimes. But at the end of the day, like that's the most important part. So
yeah, for sure.
Good advice. Okay, so moving on to Q-School and Q-Series. So I don't have the exact statistic at this moment. I apologize. But I don't think that there is a lot of players. I know the number is not too high. They go through all three stages, stage 1, stage 2, and Q-Series, all the way to advancing to get their LPGA Tour card. Part of that is because Q-Series gets a lot of exemptions, either LPGA Tour players that didn't finish high enough in the rankings or some automatic qualifiers, but you went through all three stages. So stage one, finished tie 33rd. Stage two, tie 7th. Q-Series, tie 16th. That's some pretty solid, steady golf. Above average, obviously. You have your LPGA Tour card. How would you describe each stage?
I mean, every stage, I think everyone says is a marathon, which is true, especially Q-Series because it's 8 rounds instead of 4. But they were each a little different. Stage one is out in Palm Springs and it's super hot. So it's really just, mentally stay in it. Don't overwork that week because it's really tough to rehydrate once you're dehydrated. So really focusing on, just making it through the heat at stage one. And then stage two, another thing is each stage did have multiple golf courses. So stage one has 3 courses, stage two had 2 courses, stage Q-Series had 3 courses. So it really was just, looking at each course and trying to figure out how to play each course the best way. And then stage two, I think it was almost nice to kind of go through each stage just to know like how the pressure would be at the next stage. I think if I'd started at Q-Series, I maybe wouldn't have been prepared for like, I guess the feeling. But stage two was when my old assistant coach started caddying for me. So he caddied for me at stage 2 and stage 3.
Okay.
And I just think it was really awesome just having him on the bag, just having someone familiar that like knows my game and can keep me calm. Stage one, my dad caddied for me, which was nice, but he helps a little more with keeping me calm, but not so much with the golf. So
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I am really lucky to have gotten through all 3 stages for sure.
So looking at stage one, and like they all have their own unique challenges, I guess. But when you arrive at stage one, it's not just your normal field. Like the reason there's 3 courses is because there's literally hundreds of competitors in that event. Like, have you played in an event that big before? I don't think there's really too many that have that many competitors, but
yeah, I think that's the first time I've ever played in a field that big, just because like you said, like 3 courses just to accommodate everyone playing. But I think like for all 3 stages, I was kind of telling myself, as long as I play well, like I'll get through. And I think that kind of helps to take some of the pressure off because there, like you go to the range, there are so many good swings. Like everyone looks really good. So I think it really is just focusing my game, like what can I do to make sure I make it through, and if I don't, like, then you just figure it out after that.
Right. So for you, you've played in a lot of big events, USGA championships. I know you've played and got a couple LPGA tour starts. Playing college, like playing at USC, like just practice days or days trying to qualify. Like you played against a lot of really great players. What do you do in those moments to kind of get locked into your own space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really focus on my routine, just trying to keep that the same. And then I like having one swing thought. I know it's kind of different from person to person, but I like having one thing to focus on, like whether it's like take a good backswing or like, just having a couple of keys to think about during my swing has always helped me to just have something to focus on and something to relax into. And then I think just the more experience you have, the better you get at handling it. I remember like the first time I saw a camera, I probably like did not hit a very good shot. I was like, just shocked by that. And now it's not something I'm super comfortable with, but at the same time, it doesn't make me like super, super nervous like it used to. So
Right.
A little bit of experience and a little bit of just building your routines that help under pressure.
Yeah. So that is actually something I've been meaning to ask. And all the golfers I know, interviewed, talked to, it's like I've wanted to ask about the camera. So I appreciate you actually bringing it up because it can't be something, or has to be something that gets a little bit of getting used to. And like there's different levels to it. There's the photographer cameras, and they can be at various distances. Sometimes you cannot even probably notice them or see them. Other times it might be more visible. But then you get like TV cameras, and I know you've played in some bigger events where you probably like, oh, sudden you have someone standing behind you. Like, how do you adjust to that? When I know you said you're not 100% comfortable with it still, but like, how do you adjust to that and get used to it?
Yeah. I think the best way to think about it is like they're not actually there to do anything to influence your shot, right? Like the first time I saw a camera, I was just like, oh no, like everyone is gonna see if I hit a bad shot. And that's obviously not what you want to be thinking of when you're about to hit a shot. So now I just try to approach it as, you know, like I can hit the best shot and people are going to see it and it's going to be so awesome, you know, like really just, I guess, trying to put a positive spin on it. And also just at some point, like I think it's kind of like when you start your round, like I personally get a little nervous on the first tee, and then after you play like 1 or 2 holes, you get a little more comfortable with it. It's kind of like that. Like you see your first camera and there's a lot of nerves, and then you kind of just, you know, where they're going to be, or like you see them coming and it's just like, okay, like now I'm just here to do what I need to do, and they're just there. So that's definitely the experience side of it, that, you know, like you're in competition. It's like, okay, like I'm here to compete. Like, who cares if there's a camera there? I still need to hit a good shot, even if there wasn't a camera there. So that's more of how I think about it now.
Got you. So also, like from the fan side of it, um, have you had any, I'll say negative experiences, but any times where like maybe a spectator has wandered out into a spot they shouldn't be, or any they wouldn't stop talking, or any of these kind of experiences yet? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, not many that I can think of. I mean, I think there's always, you know, like that one spectator, especially in college golf, you know, they're looking for someone, they're not really paying attention to the groups coming through, or they'll walk into the fairway or something when you're about to hit. But it doesn't happen too often.
Yeah.
But normally just, you know, back off and just take a couple of deep breaths or something, just reset. And I never like blaming other people for a shot that I hit. So I never want to say it's their fault.
Right.
If anything, I should have done something better to, you know, like restart from that. But
Are you someone that will speak up? So like if someone was standing in front of like the tee box, like, hey, can you move over?
So I'm really non-confrontational. So I used to not, but now I will, just because it is affecting your game. And like I said, like if someone's there, like I never want to look at myself after the round and think like I should have said something. So because I do try to take the blame for my mistakes, and even if they're standing there, like, you know, like I'll just say like, hey, like you're a little on my eye line or something, like can you just give me some room? And people aren't offended by it normally. Right. Like they understand.
I think more than anything, just based on what I've seen, people just get usually more embarrassed than anything, because they're like, oh, like they didn't know that they were in the way. Like, which sometimes I'm like, how do you not know you're not in? How do you not know? It's like, but yeah, it happens. Most people, they're there because they want to support the golfers, even if they don't know golf. Like they're there because it's a sibling or a friend or something like that. So I got you. Just to touch on the Q series a little bit, because it is so unique. First of all, so it's 2 weeks. Did you receive any advice? Because you've had a lot of friends and former teammates that have gone through that same process. Did anyone give you advice? Did you seek any advice?
I don't think I really. My swing coach just, you know, told me just try to shoot every round, even or under. And so that was my mindset, you know, just if I'm 1 or 2 over, like try to get it back to even. If I'm, you know, 1 or 2 under, try to get it to 3 or 4 under. And I think that helped a lot. Other than that, I didn't want to be thinking of too much going into the tournament. So I didn't really get advice from anyone else, but yeah, I think that was the main the main thing that I was focusing on was just, over par rounds just accumulate. So just try to avoid those. And you'll have your rounds where you shoot well. You just need to manage the rounds that you're having a tougher time with.
Right. So whenever I'm watching professional golf, and especially in an 8-round tournament, but when you get to that level, especially at Q-Series, everyone out there, at least from my perspective, they have the ability to shoot that 5, 6, or 7 under round and play really well. But at the same time, it's golf. So bad holes are going to happen. Bad rounds are going to happen. But I think mentally being able to stay know that it's so long. You don't need to, if you shoot over par, that's kind of high number. You don't have to freak out. Although I'm sure that that's a lot easier said than done. I'm not in that position, so I have no idea what those feelings are actually like. But it seems like, especially in Q-Series, that staying around par, exactly what your coach said to you, it's going to stay around par, get a few rounds under par, but you'll be good. What was the biggest challenge for you during those 2 weeks?
I think personally, so the second week of Q-Series, we had fog the second and third round, I believe. So I was kind of at the right tee time where I had to come back early. And then there was another delay. And I think, I can't remember which round it was, but I think it was the third round. I was there to finish my second round and then play the third round. So I was on the course for, I want to say, about 11 hours. And I think that was just the toughest day because you have to be warmed up and ready to go. But at the same time, there's fog, right? So you don't really know where you're going to go. And they were texting us every 15 minutes that we were either going to or not going to start in the next half hour. So it's not like, oh, you'll have an hour to warm up once they tell you can play, right? You kind of have to be ready, when they say that the fog is going to lift. So that was pretty hard for me because it's just mentally tiring to be out on the course that long. And then you don't really know when you're going to play. That, and then just overall, 8 rounds is just a lot. Yeah, for sure.
So I was there at Q-Series. It was great to finally get to meet you in person, by the way. And that fog delay, and I know and you don't have to say anything on this, but I'm not trying to throw shade on anyone, rules officials or anyone, but it does, just looking at that time, the 15-minute increments of updates for almost, or was over 2 hours, that is really challenging. And I think when there was fog the next round too, they did do a better job of spreading that out, the 30-minute increments at least, where they just said, we'll start at this time or update at this time versus the every 15 minutes. Because I can't imagine to play around the golf, and at that, you guys are coming towards the end of this very important 2 weeks, it's playing for your job, getting locked in for your round. It's okay, I'm gonna start warming up again. Okay, no, it's another delay. I'm sure that the highs and lows of that were how do you cope with that or deal with that? Is there any mental exercises you do, stretching, physical exercises you do? How did you stay locked in during that time?
Yeah, there were honestly the first few fog delays, we just looked at the range and we were like, okay, the next update is going to be another delay. So a little bit of it was guesswork. But then, every time, so I did warm up normally the first time, just kind of went through my routine, and then we got hit with a delay. And it is just a little bit of every time there's an update, how does my body feel? Do I feel like I need to go hit a few more golf balls, or is it better for me to just, try to get some rest? So it kind of was every 15 to 30 minute, just check in of how I'm feeling. And yeah, I think between rounds for me was the hardest, just because, so lunch wasn't open yet. So I had to figure out some way of getting food. And then you have to go re-warm up, but you obviously won't need as much time because we just played a couple of holes.
Right.
Um, so I'm still obviously not 100% perfect at it, but yeah, just trying to manage energy levels and just, yeah, packing some extra food and just, I think when you mentally prepare yourself, like, okay, like this delay is going to be this long, or like, when you kind of prompt yourself, like, I need to be patient, and you expect something to happen, I think that always helps to take some of the edge off versus, like when another delay hits, like, oh man, another delay, like
Right.
when you kind of think that it's coming, I think it definitely helps.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So when the final putt dropped on the 144th hole, which is pretty wild to say, but on the 144th hole, final putt dropped. What were your feelings and what were you thinking?
Yeah, that final round was just really frustrating. Like I actually played really well and just I swear like could not make anything. So I made a birdie on 17, and I think that was like the first putt that had dropped for me for pretty much the whole day. But just a lot of relief just to be done, and I knew that like I'd played pretty well, so I expected to get my card. And yeah, just obviously like really happy just knowing that I'm a rookie this year is just so exciting.
Yes, 100%. I saw so many different emotions there at that hole. I mean, there was a lot of tears shed for out of happiness, out of pure actual sadness, and like it's just such a mental grind and physical grind those 2 weeks. Um, did you know? Like, I know there's no leaderboards, and then the leaderboard on 18, there was that leaderboard. It was a little like it wasn't necessarily updated constantly. Did you know where you were at when you finished?
So I didn't like immediately, but then there were a few people who like interviewed me like right after, and I saw the leaderboard like right after I sent my card.
Okay.
But I shot even the last round, so I had a pretty good feeling about making it.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
did you have the goal, or did you know about wanting to fish inside the top 20? Like there's top 45, you get your card, but it's
Hmm.
not so straightforward as like not all 45 get their full status for the 20 like this season. Were you aware of
Hmm.
that before?
I was, but it was kind of the same mindset of just trying to shoot as low as I could, and wherever I finish, finish.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Can't worry about putting too much pressure on yourself. I'm sure that that's
Mhm.
not the most ideal. Okay, so now you are a 2022 LPGA Tour rookie. Looking ahead, what are some of the things you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to be out there every week and kind of learn the ropes as a professional golfer. I just turned pro the end of August, so it still does feel pretty new to me just because I haven't played that many events. It was mostly just Q-Series and then some prep stuff around it. So yeah, looking forward to having, I guess, a more set schedule and just traveling to new places.
That I wanted to ask you about the schedule. So, have you? What has that process been like for you? Do you have a pretty good idea about what events you're going to play this year, try to play this year, and what was the process of like sitting down and kind of mapping all that out?
Yeah, I think I'll honestly play as much as I can get into, just to try to make cuts. Um, so I'm playing the Monday qualifier for Gainbridge and Drive On Championship, and then I believe the next event that I'll get into is San Diego. So that there's going to be a pretty big break between them. So I honestly haven't really set a schedule yet, but I'm thinking of possibly picking up a Symetra event before San Diego, just to like be playing leading up into the event. But I haven't found that schedule out yet. I don't think it's out yet.
I haven't
So
seen it either.
yeah, but yeah, I think it's kind of gonna be like just play as much as I can, and then if I feel like I need an off week, then I'll take an off week.
See how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any goals for this year?
Honestly, just keeping my card for the first few, just yeah, just learning the ropes, seeing how it goes, and just have fun with it. Just because like it does get stressful at times, but I kind of try to remind myself, like, I'm really lucky to be doing what I'm doing. So really just trying to see the positives of everything.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any golfers that you're looking forward to playing with or meeting?
Yeah. I've been really close with Megan Kang for a long time, and she's definitely got a head start on me as far as her time on tour, but really excited to finally be back playing with her. Um, and then, I mean, I just everyone that I've been seeing on TV, like week in and week out, like there's not really someone that I can pick out.
Right.
Yeah, like everyone's just so good. I'm just so excited.
First of all, Megan is one of the best people ever, and
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
I'm so thankful that I know her. We've had so many great conversations, like on and off camera. But and I love that you're gonna get to reunite with her. I'm excited. Like that excites me too, is that there's so many different levels of players. Like I said, like you're someone who went like the full college experience. So there's players that and people that you knew or grew up playing with that have been on tour for a while. And it's like, oh, you're gonna get to reconnect and spend time together and play golf together again.
Yeah, I mean, so I met Megan at US Kids when I think we were both 8.
Wow.
And yeah, so that I've known her for a really long time, and I remember watching her go through Q School before Q-Series was a thing.
Yeah.
5 years ago now, I think, or no, 6 years ago.
Yes, I think it was 6.
Yeah, and just being able to watch her like do so well on tour has been so awesome, and yeah, I'm just excited to get out there with her.
What was 8-year-old Megan like?
Oh, not much has changed.
For some reason, that doesn't surprise me. Okay, you as a golfer, how would you describe your game?
Say I'm a pretty good ball striker. Putting's gotten a lot better through college. Short game is like still working there. Yeah, so just learning new shots and just improving consistency, but generally pretty calm on the course. So
yeah, what's your mental demeanor like?
I never really get too up or too down. Probably a little on the lower energy side.
You said you're more on the lower side as far as like the emotion goes, not too high, not too low. And for I'll say brief, like the 2 weeks was kind of long though, but I got to see you play a little bit, and that's exactly the impression that I got. I feel like you were kind of built, honestly, for an event like that. Like if there was a golfer with a mental makeup for a tournament like Q-Series, I would pick you. I think that's.
I appreciate that.
No problem. So as we get here towards the end of this interview, again, thank you for taking some time. A few like quicker questions and a little bit like off the course kind of related questions. First one, who is Allisen off the golf course?
Oh, I've been trying to pick up more hobbies now that I have a lot of free time. But I do read a lot, and then getting into Netflix now, but I have a really short attention span.
I love how getting into Netflix now, which is Netflix has been around. Like I thought I was kind of late to the Netflix game. Like that's the first time I watched The Office was when it was on Netflix, and it had already been on Netflix for a while. Like what are some of the other hobbies that you picked up, or some of the things you enjoy doing?
It's not a hobby yet, but I did learn how to knit. Yeah. But that's, I think, a pretty big time commitment, so I don't think I'm going to pursue that. But yeah, mostly just reading, and then I'm trying to become a little more outdoorsy and like into exercise. But hasn't happened yet, but I'm still working on it.
Well, hey, as you go through this rookie season, visiting all these different places, I'm sure like you're gonna pick up things as you go. Big reader though. Do you have any book recommendations? Like just a couple book recommendations?
I've been really into memoirs lately, so I really liked Educated by I think it's Tara Westover.
Okay.
That one's a really good one. And then I think the first book that really got me into memoirs was Unbroken. I can't remember the author, but it's about Louis Zamperini.
Okay.
Mhm.
I have to check it out. Do you have a nickname?
No, I don't think so.
Not a
So a couple of people call me Allie, but I actually have a cousin who goes by Allie, so not within my family. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was there ever an argument about like who gets to be called Allie?
No, so I never even knew it was a nickname. I just thought it was her name.
No.
We were watching I think it was like a video of my grandparents' like 50th like wedding anniversary or something. And they said Alexis, and I was like, who is Alexis?
So that's your cousin. What do you mean? At karaoke night, what song are you singing?
Oh God. I like Taylor Swift a lot, but I'm not a great singer. But I guess anything by her.
Hey, it doesn't matter about how you sing. Just if you enjoy it. Taylor Swift, I approve. 10 out of 10. Any favorite Taylor Swift songs?
New Year's Day.
New Year's Day?
Uh-huh.
Nice. For dinner guests, dead or alive, who would you have join you for dinner?
Oh, wow. Let's see. I don't know. There's a lot of people that I'd want to have dinner with.
I know.
Uh-huh. Let's see. I think I've met her before, but I just never get tired of hearing her talk. Monica Sorenstone. She just has so much to say. I really like Barack Obama. I think just him being from Hawaii and just like,
Yeah,
I've read both his and Michelle's books, and I like both of them. Two more. I mean, if I said Annika, I have to say Tiger. This.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Two goats.
Yeah, and then let's see. For my fourth, I guess my grandma, because I don't see her that often on my mom's side. She lives in Korea, so.
I like it. So that's like a perfect mixture. You have an incredible public speaker with President Obama, and then you have the family comfort of, if things get too hectic over there, you have that person to relate to. And then two of the greatest golfers of all time. I like it. Okay. And the last part, a few rapid fire questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Early golf or twilight golf?
Early.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Any superpower, what would your superpower be?
Something to do with like probably some kind of like time travel or something to do with time, I think.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I like it. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
I like breakfast a lot.
Breakfast anytime?
Yeah, I like breakfast anytime.
Same here. Would you rather play around with a full set of left-handed clubs or with only your driver?
Left-handed clubs? I don't know which one would go better.
You have any experience swinging left-handed clubs?
So I have like one for fun, like that I've had since I was like 11. So I know how to hit it, not very well. I haven't hit it in years. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would have less expectations of the left-handed set.
That's a good point. You know that there's a few players out that I know on the LPGA, like So Yeon Yu, for instance. She will always, like, part of her routine before the round is to just swing left-handed, like, just not with the clubs, but left-handed clubs, but just warming up. And I've had other people that just aren't experienced, like other photographers, they don't know like the players that well. And they're like, is she left-handed? Like, I didn't think there's any, like, no, like her, it looks good. I don't know how she hits them, but the swing mechanics look good. Just part of the warm-up process. Final question: 2 hole-in-ones in one round or course record?
2 hole-in-ones.
Ooh. Yes. Finally.
Does everyone say the course record?
Yes.
I think that I could do the course record without extra help. Like, the 2 hole-in-ones is like if I play a good round of golf, it'll be the course record. But 2 hole-in-ones is very much luck.
I mean, yeah, it kind of, like, for me, someone who still does not have a hole-in-one, but I know so many golfers that are definitely, I hate to, like, I'm not this great golfer, but they're not as good as me. And they have like 3 hole-in-ones. I'm like, how do you have 3 hole-in-ones? Like, how many hole-in-ones do you have?
Well, I have about 8. I'm not sure on the number though.
One of a classic. I forget, kind of, like, I just have so many. Classic. Wow. Now what a way to come to a close. I have to think about the rest of the day how I don't have any. It's okay. Allisen, thank you so much for joining me today, and it's been a lot of fun. Learned a lot. And
yeah, thanks for having me.
Real quick, where can people follow you? Like social media, Instagram, Twitter, anything?
Yeah. I have a Twitter. I don't use it that much. I think it's Allisen_SC. And then my Instagram, it's my first middle last name. So it's Allie, ALLYSON, Son, and then Corpuz. That's my Instagram. So yeah.
I'll add the link when I post the video. But I appreciate your time and best of luck this season. I'll see you sometime soon.
Thank you, Ben. Yep. Have a good one. Bye.